Okay, well, we're going to do a video that I really don't want to make, and that is the fact that it appears Hart is completely dead. And this definitely came as a shock to me. Apparently last month, at the beginning of December, TTI made an announcement that they were no longer going to be supporting their Hart tool lineup, and the line was being discontinued. Now, I was paying more attention to skill at this point because I am kind of a fan of the skill's 12-volt tool lineup. Quite a few of their tools in that lineup I really, really like. And I was focused on that, and I completely missed Hart. Because I really didn't think that this was even possible, because, it's Walmart, it's TTI, both a mega retailer, mega tool maker. Seems like a pretty big match made in heaven, but apparently it was not, and they've listed a variety of reasons for this, and I think it's all bullshit, and quite frankly, I think that, it was just eating into the profits of their other tool lines, and so they decided to axe it, and Walmart probably decided to get rid of it too, because they no longer wanted to pay whatever fees TTI was charging, or whatever cut they were making off these particular tools for the branding and all that. So, I think Walmart is going a different direction, and I think TTI is also going a different direction. But where does that leave us, the consumer? Well, unfortunately, that leaves us with two different knives in our back. One from Walmart and one from TTI. TTI put a knife in our back because they're discontinuing a tool lineup that they've had around for about 6 to 7 years at this point, and that literally thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people have bought into and spent thousands of dollars buying into. So, there's one knife in our back, and, that's a pretty big knife. And the other knife in our back is from Walmart, because they're handling this incredibly poorly, because they're not saying clearance, they're saying rollback. Now, the difference between rollback and clearance at Walmart: rollback generally means a temporary discount on a product that will be there in the future. Clearance is an item that they no longer will be carrying in the store because it's being replaced or it's being improved with a new upgraded version. What we're getting here is rollback on discontinued items that TTI announced that are discontinued, but Walmart is marking as rollback. And that's very dishonest, because people will buy into this thinking that the system will be around, and it will not. So basically, Walmart's just trying to get rid of the stuff that they're no longer going to have in the future at the around just slightly discounted prices instead of barn burner prices or fire sale prices. And the reason why this is so dishonest and so bad is, if there were other, third-party battery manufacturers or ways you could adapt batteries over from other brands, I wouldn't have nearly as big of a problem with Walmart with, doing this strategy. But the problem is, there are no third-party adapters that are currently made that you can adapt other batteries from, say, DeWalt or Milwaukee or Makita over to Hart. And there are no third-party battery manufacturers. I don't recommend third-party batteries ever, but there are no options for you to go that route at all. The only route that, the only manufacturer I found that had anything somewhat like that was this particular brand, Power Tool Adapters, at the website, and you can buy all different kinds of battery adapters for different brands. Unfortunately, their, DeWalt, Milwaukee rigid power tool adapters have been sold out for 3 years. And while it does say, important notice, the Hart adapters have been out of stock since December of 2023, they are not discontinued. We are still sourcing a key component and expect to resume production once this is available. Thank you for your patience and continued support. Well, I don't know about you, but after 3 years of not having something in stock and the tool lineup no longer being made, I think that's a pretty good indication that it's not coming back, period. Which is a disappointment, because these were the only adapters that I found that were any sort of a serious option. There is some 3D printed options on eBay for, their lights and possibly fans, but any sort of power tool such as a drill, impact driver, saw, router, compressed, anything that requires a lot of power, it does not have the support, and they do not currently make anything like that anywhere or from any brand. So it's not going to be like you can go on Amazon and get, a Milwaukee to DeWalt or DeWalt to Milwaukee adapter. You can't get adapters, period. So we're pretty much screwed in the battery department. There is a chance, I guess, that TTI might do the right thing and still offer to sell Hart batteries at, maybe a slightly marked up price, but I think that what's going to end up happening is they're just going to kill the system off completely and make you go out and buy new power tools and hope that you go buy Ryobi or Milwaukee power tools instead. Which, at this point in time, I'm a little miffed, and so I don't know if I really can recommend buying any TTI tools. Well, I'm going to have to, because I'm still bought into Ryobi and that's my primary tool brand, but I'm definitely not happy. Really not happy, TTI. So, I'm going to be extra nitpicky in the future on everything, just to let you know. So, just to reassure you that I'm not going to be biased or anything. I'm just going to make sure that I'm not going to let anything slide, period. So, this is definitely a big disappointment for me because, I buy all my tools with my own money. I've never been given a free tool by any tool company. And, I really did like quite a few of the Hart products. The Hart's vacuum cleaners were fairly decent. I really did like their 2-gallon vacuum cleaner. I think the Hart batteries were actually very well made, and you didn't have to deal with all the HP bull crap. A Hart battery will work in any Hart 20-volt battery will work in any Hart 20-volt tool, and you don't need some sort of HP marking to make the tool run better. It was a better system in my opinion, and you didn't have to deal with the Ryobi stem. Although I'm not actually the biggest hater of the Ryobi stem unless you're trying to adapt batteries. Then it's a massive pain. But as it stands right now, all the Hart tools, they're gone. They're not coming back. If you want Hart tools, you buy them now. If you need Hart batteries, buy them now because there's pretty much no chance that you're going to be able to buy them in the future. And for the reasons I've already listed, that nobody makes third-party Hart batteries, and there are no third-party batteries to Hart tool adapters. So it's pretty much the end of the line for Hart, unfortunately. And this isn't the way that this could have happened. If there was some sort of a disagreement in between TTI and Walmart, they could have started selling these particular tools on Amazon or something like that. The fact that they're killing off the system completely gives me a pretty good indication that that this is eating into their products, and maybe they were getting pressure from other tool or stores, such as maybe Home Depot was pressuring them, saying, hey, look, these tools are very, very similar to the Ryobi products that are supposed to be our exclusives, and the only difference is that it doesn't have the stem adapter. It could be a situation like that. But as it stands right now, if you are in the Hart tool lineup, you're pretty screwed. I would not personally, if you're looking to get into the Hart system, I would not recommend getting into the Hart system at all. Do not buy any Hart tools whatsoever because, like I said earlier, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to buy the batteries in the future. If you're already in the Hart tool system and you're not going to sell off your tools and get into a different system, entirely, this might be a good time to buy some stuff. But like I said earlier, they're not using clearance prices. They're using rollback prices with only slight discounts. Quite frankly, this whole situation is highly irritating, and it really kind of pisses me off. So, this is just really, really irritating. So what's next for Walmart? What are they going to be carrying instead? Well, we already kind of know what they're going to be carrying instead of Hart. And that would be, well, Hyper Tough. Hyper Tough stuff is starting to show up in Walmarts more and more often. And everything that, was 2 years ago was all Hart is now all Hyper Tough. And I think that could be because, they have more control over Hyper Tough for their own branding. So, we are getting, the cordless cutoffs. They have 3 different impact wrenches. There's a new little hand blower, the hydraulic impact driver. I'm not quite sure what a hydraulic impact driver is, so that might be something interesting to take a look at. But we also get a little 1.5 gallon wet dry vac. I think they have a bigger 3-gallon wet dry vac. They have grinders, circular saws. This is a good price for a nailer. You can't really beat $100 for an 18 gauge brad nailer. That's a good price with battery. It's only a 1.5 amp or a 2 amp hour battery, but that's a pretty good price. I'm still mad at Walmart, but hey, that's a good price. They have their new updated hand chainsaw. A couple new updated blowers. They've got their lawnmower. There's options. They now have a router. Here's interesting. So this vacuum cleaner looks like it's using. Let me pull it up. It looks like it's using the same kind of hose and vacuum nozzle attachments that TTI uses. Maybe it's just from the same supplier, but that looks like TTI accessories that the Hart system and Ryobi both use, and Milwaukee, I believe, uses these same components right here as well. Now, what's interesting is if this is made by TTI, and this outdoor power cleaner appears to be made by Works, which means that they are obviously getting their tools made by several different third-party companies, which is a fairly common practice for, store brands. But this tool is obviously made by Works. This is one of Works' designs. And, so, they have something that looks like it's made by TTI. They have something that looks like it's made by Works. And in the past, on one of the Hyper Tough drills I reviewed in the past, it was almost identical to a Black & Decker drill. So, they're obviously getting their tools from different brands. So, maybe they're picking and choosing from the best brands. Or who knows, maybe they're not. I don't know. But it looks like Works, is making quite a bit of the stuff for Hyper Tough, and it looks like some other stuff is also being made by TTI, and then other stuff might even be made by Black & Decker. So, I'm not quite sure where it's all coming from, but, the 20-volt lineup or all the power tools that you'll see in the store aisles appear to be now made by, Hyper Tough, at least when it comes to the indoor tools. Now, when it comes to outdoor tools, of course, you have the power cleaner, weed whacker, and stuff that's going to be marked Hyper Tough. But the other brand that was a little bit of a surprise for me to see that's now showing up in store is going to be our Skill 40 volt. I haven't seen any Skill, 20 volt stuff anywhere, and I'm pretty sure that they killed off that tool lineup. But when it comes to the Skill 40 volt, you are seeing some Skill 40 volt stuff in store. Is this just going to be for this year only, and this is just a temporary clearance year where Skill's liquidating this product and it's only going to be in the store for a single year? Who knows? Maybe, possibly. I'm not quite sure. I could see them going that route. But as it stands right now, you are seeing Skill 40 volt tools in store at Walmart. And I've personally seen the lawnmower, the blower, the weed whacker, and I think I also saw a chainsaw at one of the stores as well. Yep, delivery as soon as 1 hour. So you are seeing some Skill 40 volt stuff in store. Oh, and I also did see the hedge trimmer. So, you are seeing Skill 40 volt in store at Walmart. Now, is this going to be the case in the future? Well, maybe, possibly. But, I still have a sneaking suspicion that Skill 40 volt might not be around in the future. I could be completely wrong about that. It does appear that at least over on Skill's website, you can actually purchase some of the tools from their website directly now, where you were not able to do that from in the past. Like if you want to say, I think you can buy, there's certain stuff you can buy directly from their website now. And, they now have an add to cart function. I don't believe this is one of them. Yep, yeah, it is. So you can add to cart, and, they now have a cart option on their website. So Skill 12 volt might not be completely dead, which would be fantastic, because I actually think quite a few of their products are really good. But back to the subject at hand, which is Hart. So, you're seeing Skill 40 volt in stock in Walmart now. Now, the other brand that you are seeing in stock in Walmart now is going to be, Greenworks, and that's going to be their 60 volt lineup. Now, Greenworks has several different lineups. They have 24 volt, 40 volt, 60 volt, and 80 volt, and 82 volt. And, that's quite a selection of different power tools, but the only ones that you're going to be seeing in store are either going to be the ones you plug into the wall or the ones that you run off of the 60 volt battery. Now, I have a 60 volt Greenwork blower and it's not 60 volt, an 80 volt Greenwork blower, and of course they're not carrying 80 volt because of course I have the worst luck by picking tool systems apparently, and I picked the Greenworks 80 volt. It's still around, but of course it's not the stuff that they're going to be carrying in store. So a little bit of an irritation there, but you are seeing 60 volt Greenworks stuff in store. And I don't particularly have a problem with Greenworks. I think they make some really stupid design decisions, and their products don't always feel like they're the highest quality, but at the same time they seem to be working okay. And it definitely beats the pants off some Ryobi blowers I've had. At least my Greenworks 80 volt blower does, but then again, that's also double the power, so it is what it is. But like I said earlier, you'll be seeing this Greenworks 60 volt stuff in store in Walmart, and of course you can purchase it from online as well. So that's going to be basically handling your Greenworks, Skill, and Hyper Tough are going to be handling your in-store when it comes to your outdoor power equipment for for what you can buy in-store at Walmart. So still really disappointed that the way that they're handling this, but as it stands right now, the options are becoming limited on where you can buy stuff. So right now you can still buy Hart stuff from the website. You can still buy some stuff from Hart in store as of January 2026. In a month or two, that's probably going to be changing quite a bit, and the selection is going to be dwindling. Just in the last week, the selection's been dwindling. You could buy quite a bit of different Hyper stuff. I mean, not Hyper Tough, but Hart stuff from the website. But as it stands right now, a lot of the stuff that just 3-4 days ago were available are now completely sold out, and it's not coming back. So sold out. Just everything's selling out, and you're not going to be able to buy any of this stuff very soon. So if you want more Hart batteries, you need to buy them now, because there's a good chance you're not going to be able to buy them in the future. And if there's a particular tool you want for your Hart tool lineup because you don't want to buy into a whole new system, and you don't think you're going to need to, you're not you're older and you don't think you're going to need a different tool system in the future, now's the time to buy, because the prices will probably only be going up, or, well, they might be going down because you can't buy any adapters or anything. So as it stands right now, everything is changing, and Hart is now officially dead. And it's not just me saying this. You can go and you can find a bunch of different articles that came out at the beginning of December. Like I said earlier, I was more preoccupied with skill, and somehow I completely missed this whole happening, and this really pisses me off, because I buy all my own tools, and the fact that it no longer is a thing is definitely a irritation. But there's all different kinds of articles out there that talk about this, and all you have to do is Google it, and it's something I should have did sooner, but I didn't. And so as it stands right now, it's not looking good for those of us who bought into this particular system. So as it stands right now, TTI, it discontinued the Hart business, and it's done. So Hart's dead. It's gone. It's not coming back, and it's just it's gone. So really hate making this video. I think that both Walmart and TTI have a lot to be blamed for it right now, and I'm just definitely just upset about this whole situation. So if you're like me and didn't know, well, sorry to have to give you the bad news. But if you weren't like me and knew about this before, well, good for you. But as it stands right now, the Hart users are we're kind of screwed. One last thing though before I end this video: if you are looking for one of the liquidators that handles Walmart's liquidation of their products that they're no longer selling, their open box or their broken, the stuff that Walmart can't sell, one of their outlets is VIP Outlet. And I've had good luck buying from them in the past, but over the Christmas holidays I bought several items from them, and all of them were defective and I had to return, and it literally took them a month for them to give me a refund. So be very careful buying from VIP Outlet. Like I said, I used to have pretty good outcomes with them in the past. I bought all kinds of stuff from them, and some of the stuff would be new, some of the stuff would be open box. I got some really good open box hard drives that were in really good shape and were actually what they were marked. And I've bought new tools from them as well. Sometimes they sell just overstock items, and sometimes they're brand new and there's nothing wrong with them, and so it's something I can review. But in the past I had good luck with them. Over the last 6 months or so, apparently their feedback has gone really negative, and just the quality of what they're selling. They shipped me 3, one item was clearly defective. The other 2, one was a hard drive that had been clearly shucked, which means they take the good big hard drive and put a smaller hard drive in there, or they put a brick in there or something. And clearly somebody had did that to this hard drive that they sent me, because you couldn't even plug a power cord into it, because whoever did it reassembled it wrong. And so I couldn't even plug the power cord in, so it was obviously a scam. So just something to be aware of. If you are looking to buy some Hart stuff from eBay, just make sure you check it as soon as you get it, and if there's anything wrong with it, open a case immediately. So just something to be aware of with VIP Outlet. I've had used to have good experiences, now I've had bad experiences, and I don't particularly trust this particular seller on eBay anymore. So FYI. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time, and hopefully next time I have better news.